How you doing today? How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right.
Feeling good? Feeling
Yeah,
good?
yeah. I'm a little nervous,
Yeah.
but
Everybody is. It's okay. We'll get through
yeah.
it. We'll walk through it. So go ahead and tell everybody what your name is and what you do.
So my name is Catherine Ferguson, but my family calls me Precious, and I'm a server, and I own a business doing event planning.
Awesome. Where are you from originally?
Marion, Ohio.
Marion, Ohio. So tell us a little bit about how you were raised as a kid.
My mom was a single mother. She raised me until 13, till I was 13, and then she passed away. And then my grandmother raised me till then.
So did you ever have any kind of relationship with your dad?
I did, but it was on and off. So
Are you close to him now or anything like that?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
close to my dad now. He's like one of my best friends.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So it's nice.
And how old was you when you started to build that relationship with him again?
I was 18, about to be 19. Yep.
So what are some hobbies that you have?
I like to go to the movies. I love to work on my yard. I take pride in working on my house. So I do different things. I paint different decorations. I love just the setup for my events too. So I practice a lot there. And sometime next week, I will start the luxury picnic. So I'm gonna do like a lot of little picnics for couples and brunch and
That's awesome.
yeah. So I can't wait to do that.
And what's your relationship status? You got somebody in your life?
Yes.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about them.
His name is Jacob Rutledge. We've been together, I want to say 12 years. We've been together since 2011. So about 12, 13 years.
And you guys are engaged to be married?
Yep, we're engaged. Can't wait. Get married next year. It's supposed to be this year, but you know, with COVID and everything, we're just gonna shoot for next year.
Absolutely. So what made you want to be the event coordinator? Is that what you said it was?
Yeah, so it's a crazy story. My fiance used to do security for some event halls.
Yeah.
And when he did, I used to go with him a lot and I would see the people set up. And I was like, that is so nice how they can make nothing to something.
Right.
So this woman was like, you like doing this? Because I used to help her set up when she was there. And I was like, I really do. I love blowing up the balloons. I love setting up the tablecloths, rearranging the tables. I love all that. And after everything I've been through, I decided I was going to start that business. And then my aunt and my aunt's cousin used to do it a lot too. So I would watch them do it, and I got so inspired by it. So
That's awesome.
I would do that.
So I know you said that your mom passed away. How old were you when that happened?
13.
Go ahead and give us a little bit of details about that whole situation.
Okay, so I was at the home with her. It was just me and her at the house, and she kept going in and out of it. Like she would wake up, fall back asleep, wake up, fall back asleep. I was so scared, so I called my grandma because I didn't want her to go to the hospital, just because I know once she went to the hospital, she was going to be there for months, and then I would have to be living with somebody else, and I didn't want that at 13. It sounds kind of selfish, but you know, you just want to be at home with your parent.
Right.
But I called my grandma to see what I should do, and she was on the phone calling to see who can come stay with us to make sure the squad didn't need to be called. She finally called my step-grandfather, which is like my grandfather to me, and his name is Rickard. But him and his daughter came over, and he was like, everything's going to be okay. Just go to bed. We'll wake up in the morning. The nurse will be here. He was like, I'm going to get the nurse to come here to see what's going on, this, that, and the third. So I'm like, okay. So I go to bed. I wake up in the morning, get ready for school. I go downstairs, and she's not breathing. But I looked at my grandfather. I was like, she's not breathing. I'm trying to wake her up. She's not waking up. He was like, no, she's just sleeping. I think he knew. He just didn't want me to know. Right. So he was like, just go to school. And I'm like, no, something's not right. She's not breathing. I just didn't feel comfortable going to school. And he like kind of just like, go to school, everything's gonna be okay. So I went to school and I had a cell phone at the time and I had so many missed calls. And then my step aunt and my great aunt came and picked me up and from school, and I knew what it was right then. Like, cause I already knew before I left, but that just tells you that you knew. And they pulled me to the side and they told me that my mom passed away in the car. And I just remember freaking out. I just remember not. I just went to be with my grandma. I didn't know what was going on. And they were like, where do you want us to take you? And I'm like, to my grandma, because she was like my second mom anyways. So,
So at 13 years old, how did you cope with that news of losing your mom?
bad.
Yeah.
I coped with it bad. Like, even at school, like when people would ask me, I would be like, it's not my mom. Until the news got out, I'm like, it's not my mom, this, that. And I even tried to go to school, I want to say not that day, 2 days later, and I just couldn't. I couldn't cope with it. So I wasn't eating, I wasn't talking, I didn't want to be around nobody. It was rough. It was real rough.
So when she was diagnosed with that disease, was there ever did they ever tell you that it was a possibility that it could end in death eventually?
Yeah, because she wasn't supposed to make it past 15 years old. So, like, they knew the time was coming, but for her to live till she was like 31, is 33, I want to say, is amazing.
So how does that still affect you to today? How do you think that played a role in you growing to be the person you are today?
Because it doesn't matter how old you are, you need your mom. And then I feel like as I get older, it's more rough on me than it was when I was 13. Because, you just want to pick up the phone and call your mom, good news, bad news, advice, and you don't have that person there. And then like my grandma filled the holes, but when she passed away, it's like I didn't have that person at all that I can call and give me advice and tell me, no, that's not the right way to do things or anything like that. So it's really rough.
So is your grandma's who you went to after your mom passed away? Mm-hmm. And you said your grandma also passed away?
Yeah.
Go ahead and give us a little bit of details about that.
I was in Columbus and she was in the hospital in Marion General. They moved her to Cleveland because she said she didn't want to be at Marion General Hospital no more. My grandma was real sick too. And I just remember getting a phone call. And it's crazy because I talked to her the night before and I was like, Grandma, what's going on? And she was like, I don't want to be here. That's before they moved her. She was like, I don't want to be a Marion General, this, that. And I'm like, Grandma's going to be okay. Just because she was in and out the hospital as well. They both had lupus. And I'm like, everything's going to be okay. Just, calm down. They going to take good care of you. Well, she got moved to Cleveland Clinic. And I'll never forget, I got a phone call from my aunt that morning. And my fiance picked up the phone. And when I seen him drop the phone and start crying, I knew what it was instantly. Like, my grandma's gone, And I just started screaming, hollering, and crying. And then I got a phone call. I don't even remember who called me, but they were like, no, we're down there. We're on our way to go see her now. Oh, it was my aunt. It was my aunt and my step aunt. They were like, no, we're on our way to go down there to see grandma now. She's not dead. And I'm like, okay. But then my cousin called me crying and she's like, no, she's dead. She's dead. And I just remember breaking down. It tore me down. And when they made it there, they found out that she was dead too. And it was just, it was a mess from there. I just remember grieving so bad. And that took me a while. That's when I started leaning to Percocets to fill in, the pain that you feel when you lose another loved one. And it was rough.
So how old was you when your grandma passed away?
I was 25.
And so you were old enough you were living on your own at that point when that happened, and you had your fiance with you.
Yeah.
So what made you get into? I know that you were dealing with the loss of your grandma and your mom. What really opened your eyes to the whole Percocet thing?
Everybody does it like it's cool, but it's not. I would tell kids nowadays, do not do drugs. Do not do drugs. Drugs are not good for you.
So how did you first get into it and find out that this was something that you wanted to use to deal with the pain?
Well, my fiance and his friends used to sell them. I could talk about it now because he ain't doing. But he used to sell them back in the day, and I begged him to try one, and he was like, "This is an addictive pill. I don't know if you want to try one." And I'm like, I don't have an addiction personality, so I'm like, it won't affect me. So I remember trying a half of one, and it numbed my pain. It numbed the sadness away. I felt like I could get stuff done. I just wasn't thinking about the deaths, So I tried one, a half of one. And then from there, it went to a half of one, to another one. I would tell him, like, let me get another one. And he would just give it to me, no questions asked. Because when you're grieving, I would fight. I would literally fight with him to get one. And he was like, he's been through that before. And he was like, I've been through this before. You don't want to. And I wasn't trying to hear none of that. Just give me the perk. And it got bad to, I want to say, a year in. When you do them every day, they're $30. At the time, they were $15. So, and I was a server, so I can make $15. But once you get to a year in, and then I didn't have one day, and it made me so sick that I couldn't even get out of bed. And he was like, that's an addiction. I'm like, there's no way. I was going through withdrawals, hallucinating. It was terrible. So I had to rush to get another pill. And I would work 3-4 jobs, me and him both, to supply our habits, and it got bad.
In what ways did you notice that taking those pills were negatively impacting your life?
When I started seeing I wasn't paying bills, I would let bills slide. I wouldn't take care of myself, just the least. I wouldn't do anything. I would just make sure I had that money for that pill, and then, they went up from $15 to $30 to $35 to $40 to even $60. So I would just make sure I had a whole bunch of jobs, side gigs to work, like cleaning, helping him with the haul, serving. Like, I would do so many different jobs just to supply that habit. And it's like I was chasing the high, and I just seen when I lost the house, that's when it really woke me up, like, oh, we don't have a house anymore. Like, what are we gonna do?
So what is it that made you finally want to get away from taking those pills and get on the right track to recovery?
When my grandpa passed, we were staying with him, and I would say we were staying with him, but you can tell when you weren't welcome in a house. So so I would stay there maybe twice out the week, and then I would stay with friends, or we would sleep in the car. You know what I mean? Just go there, take a shower, and leave. But one day we wasn't there for like 3 days, and we went there. He was like, "You guys got mail here," and he stood up and he fell dead right in front of our face. And as soon as he stood up, but my grandpa was a drunk, so he would usually fall. So I thought he just fell drunk. So I told Jake, like, my grandpa fell drunk again. Can you pick him up? And he tried to pick him up, and it was dead weight. And he was like, "Babe, this is dead weight." And I used to be a home health aide, so I just pushed him out the way, started doing compressions. And then he was like, "Let me do it because I'm bigger, that it would hit harder." He was like, "You call 911. And I just remember running around the house crying. I couldn't keep control because he just died right in front of my face. And I've seen death again so close, It's rough. It's so rough. He went to the hospital and they did all that they can do. And they were like, he's not going to make it. So that kind of woke me up because it's not worth it. It's not worth going through everything that you've been through and then don't have a crib, and then, the person you were staying with passed away, and yeah, I don't know. And we didn't get back home till like 4 o'clock in the morning. We fell asleep in the house where he had one of his girlfriends lived next door. And when we was asleep, her son came in. My uncle came back and said that my grandpa's wallet was missing. And he woke us up and he was like, "You two were the only one in the house. Where's the wallet?" Well, when you're on drugs, they're gonna assume that you did it. So trying to claim your innocence when you didn't do it is rough. You know what I mean?
And you're always the one they point the finger at.
Yeah, because I'm on drugs. So they thought it was me instantly. But, I called my aunt from Marion, and my cousin came down and came and got me. And, they found out it was the dude next door. But just trying to claim your innocence when you have no proof and you were the only one in the house is rough. And that's what made me stop the drugs, because if anything, people are going to blame you when it's not even you at all. So
how did you find the strength to get on the right path and find something that you enjoy doing for a living? How did you find the strength? Because you experienced death so closely 3 times, and you had every reason to keep going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
You had plenty of pain that you were trying to numb.
Yeah.
So you had every reason to keep going down that wrong path. So what finally gave you the strength? I know that you said you wanted to stop for that reason when your grandfather passed away, but what do you think it is that helped you and gave you the strength to do it?
I'm going to say some of it was my family. When I seen that they really cared for me and came down and got me, and they brought me back to Marion. They're like, "You need to get back on your feet." And then just me being homeless and, them lonely nights with just me and him in the car crying. Like, I have no place. I don't care if it's a shack. I would be happy to be in a shack. You know what I mean? And then come to find out, like, usually when you lose your house or something, you can go to your mom or your dad or your grandma and stay with them until you get back on the right track. And I would question God all the time. Like, why would you put me through so much for me to be an addict? But now I see that he had better things in store for me. I have to go through things to grow through things. And when my family came and got me, I came down here. I stayed with some of my friends, some of my family, and I was just sick and tired of chasing the high. And I'm like, we have to stop. I'm like, what, my grandpa dying in front of us, we have to stop. But it's not as easy said than done, because you're still addicted. So it still hurts that you have to face grieving and go through withdrawing at the same time. You know what I mean? Because you see things, you hallucinate. You just see a lot of things when you're going through it. Especially 2 people going at it at the same time. Like, and then we got to the point where, okay, let's one of us go through it and one of us not. And then it's like, no, it's not going to work that way, because then one of us is going to be mad that the other one's still doing it. And, so we just was like, let's just stop. And we did, but that withdrawal lasted for 2 weeks. And it was the worst. That was the worst pain I ever went through. Even besides people dying, like just backache, shivering, cold chills, throwing up, running to the bathroom. You guys are both needing to go to the bathroom and still trying to maintain the work to get to where you need to be. So, I was just sick and tired of being homeless. I was tired of it. I always been known to keep a house, and for me to be down that low, it really embarrassed me,
Well,
So
it's amazing that you came out of it and made something of yourself, because you lost 3 of arguably the biggest role models in your life at an early age, and you kind of had to figure everything out on your own. So it's amazing that you were able to do something and come out of it and now do something that you love and make something of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of mental toll does that still take on you today to think about losing them at such a young age?
It takes a lot. I still have my moments where I break down and cry, and especially even if you're celebrating something, you break down and cry because you just want your parents there. And I think that's why I threw off the wedding, just because my grandma's not here. One of my grandpas are not here. My mom's not here to help me walk through, walk and celebrate us becoming one. And just to think that, my fiance, he lost his mom as well at a young age. And even when we were dealing with my grandpa, a month before my grandpa passed away, his dad passed away. So, considering, yeah, we was dealing with a lot of death. And I just felt like death was surrounded by us, so close that I thought we were next. Being on, Percocet, you never know. You get a fake perk,
So do you ever think about that when you do decide to have kids, how your mom and your grandmother, they won't ever get to meet them?
Absolutely. And I think that's why I didn't want kids for the longest. And till now, I know I'm reliving my life and I want kids, but I just want to take my time because I know that's why I didn't want to even try to have kids yet, because I don't have, my mom's here, his mom's not here, his dad's not here. The only person I have left is my dad and, the rest of my family, which is great. I'm happy that I'm close to my family, because without them, I don't know what I would do. I think that's why, yeah. But hopefully with the Lord's will, I can start having kids, But I just don't want to start no time soon, because I feel like I'm reborn again and I'm just trying to live. It's only been 4 years since I've been clean, So it's kind of rough.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are able to find happiness and get away from that.
Absolutely.
That's good for you guys. A lot of people aren't able to do it. So
yeah, and I think that's what makes us so humble, to the point that I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? Like I said, we can live in a shack, and I would be so happy that it has 4 walls. You know what I mean? It don't even have to have a kitchen. As long as it's a shack, I'd be humbled about the littlest things. Like
one thing that I want for you guys is for you guys to make sure that every now and then you step back and you see what you were able to do and how far you came, because you can't take it for granted, because there's a lot of people that aren't able to do it.
Absolutely. And I think that's why, we sit back. We don't celebrate when we got clean, which we probably should, but I think we celebrate it every day. Like, look how much we overcome. And that's why when people come and see my house and they're like, you have a nice house, I'm like, we started over from nothing. All this came from nothing. And we just decided to go hard. Like, when I told him we wanted to get clean, he's really good with numbers. And he sat down. He was like, if we dedicate the next 6 months to us working 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts, we should be able to be good. And, we tried to move back down here. We didn't like it. So we moved back to Columbus, but we stayed in a hotel for 6 months. So even after us being homeless, a hotel, that's like luxury. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, we get our own little space. I'm grateful for this. And we did it for 6 months. And he's right. We did it for 6 months. We got a car. We grind for a couple more months. We got a crib. And then that's when COVID hit and everything, the price of living dropped for a little bit. So we was able to move into an apartment, and we just worked our way from there. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who might be dealing with some of the same things in their life?
Just keep going. I know you got to take baby steps, but leave the drugs alone. The drugs do not love you at all. Leave the drugs out. Leave the drugs alone. Them drugs do not love you. And then you got to just start surrounding yourself with different people, like even friends. I lost a lot of friends because of drugs. Like, you don't want to hit rock bottom like I did. Or even if you're at that point in stage, just keep going. Just pray. Have faith. And that's the thing. I used to cry to my cousin all the time. Like, I'm just sick and tired of being homeless. I'm sick and tired of doing this. Yeah, I have a big family, but I'm with a man. There's no way I could ask a family member to stay with them. You know what I mean? Like, we have to figure this out by ourselves. You know what I mean? Because if we did, then what am I learning from this situation by staying with someone else? Like, we're just gonna have to figure it out. And we had a car, so that helped tremendously. We could sleep in the car, pack our stuff in the car, and we just decided to start working together. But yeah, just keep going and have faith. Have faith. My cousin always told me, just have a little bit of faith and it'll go a long way. And I just kept that faith.
And look at you now.
Yeah, thank God.
So a lot of the stuff that I ask you guys to come on here and talk about is super sensitive stuff, super personal. You have to have a lot. You have to have a lot of mental toughness to get on here and talk about it when you know there are going to be cameras set up and there's going to be a bunch of people that sees this.
Yeah.
So what finally pushed you over that hump and made you decide to come on here and share your story?
I just want to share awareness that it doesn't matter where you're at in life, you can succeed. And hopefully this is not just my end right here. Hopefully you'll see me where I want to be. Like foundations and all of that. So
Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you giving us your time and sharing your story. You never know who could be going through similar situations, and you could be helping them deal with them and give them a way to cope with it. So I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.